Today's show is sponsored by Liberty Magic, Pittsburgh's premier speakeasy theater dedicated to the art of elevating magic. This time they're presenting Javi Benitez in the show Handmade Miracles. So this is his first visit to Liberty Magic, and you can expect a performance full of impossibility, passion, and poetic deception. Penn and Teller have described Javi as the best sleight of hand artist we have ever seen. That's a direct quote. And Javi is also internationally acclaimed. This combo of visual artistry, heartfelt storytelling, it's all supposed to give you this sense of astonishment and also laughter. Handmade Miracles runs from June 4th to July 5th. Get tickets at trustarts.org/magic before they disappear.
Today's episode is supported by the Pittsburgh Book Fest, paging all readers. Book it to the Carnegie Library of Pittsburgh in Oakland on Sunday, May 30th for the 5th annual Pittsburgh Book Fest. Created for book lovers by book lovers, this free event features programming for all ages. Hear from award-winning authors like Stephen Rowley, Catherine Newman, Daniel Kraus, John Scalzi, Meg Medina, and more. Learn more and register for free at pghbookfest.org.
This is CityCast Pittsburgh. I'm Megan Harris, and here's what Pittsburgh's talking about. We've got a full house today. Mallory, Colin, and James, our ringer. What is the weirdest thing you have each bought from a gas station?
So I was very broke in college, as so many of us were. And one summer, I ate a lot of really gross roller hot dogs and taquitos. So I don't think that's like maybe especially weird. Like, I know people do eat those, but like I'm talking like looking around in couch cushions for change style broke. And that was what I could afford. So that was lunch some days.
I feel like a roller hot dog is not a discount, or a treat, but okay. Mallory, what about you?
I had the best banana pudding of my life at a Buc-ee's in Texas.
I'm judging you a little.
I mean, I would have judged myself before I stepped into the wonderland that is Buc-ee's and realized it was so much more than a gas station.
I once bought one of those pickles in a bag. Not proud of it. But I don't know what it was. Like, there was a certain something going on, and I was like craving a pickle for some reason, and it was there, and I was like...
Was it good?
No, it was not. It was not snappy.
You bought a floppy pickle at a bag?
It was a little spicy, which is like, I was going for like, I just wanted something spicy and salty, but I was also like, you know, when you're road tripping and you don't want to just eat more chips or like salty M&Ms, but I was like, I don't know. And there was it's not like there's fruits or vegetables in the gas station. So
well, there are usually now, but in our youth, that was a lot harder to come by. I'm surprised you all went for food. Are none of y'all like clothing shoppers in gas stations? Am I the only one that's done that? I feel like you can find the most atrociously wonderful clothing in a gas station, especially a truck stop.
I did buy a Halloween costume from, I think, a Sheetz at one point.
Good.
Ended up being my Halloween costume a couple years ago.
Like wolves howling across your chest.
Yeah.
Like an unironic NASCAR shirt. I once bought a trucker hat that says I pee in pools and gave it as a Christmas present.
Incredible.
Like, you can find all kinds of weird stuff. This will come up later in our show, I swear. I'm with CityCast executive producer Mallory Falk, City Paper managing editor and CityCast contributor Colin Williams, and for our first segment only, a ringer, executive director of A+ Schools, James Fogarty. Welcome to CityCast.
Glad to be back. It's good to be with you all.
We're glad you are here because it has been a big week. Pittsburgh Public Schools finally made a decision about the school closures plan that they've been talking about forever. It's been such a controversial process, and we want you to help us explain what's coming next. We're also later in the show going to get into more bad news about city finances. We've got some stuff to celebrate. Pride is coming up, and we have a win for every one of us that still use a little bit of snail mail in our lives. And then later on today's members only bonus segment, we're going to be talking about a local influencer that takes sketchy gas station medicine, so you don't have to. This guy has gone viral, and thanks to your detective work, Colin, we now know he is from Pittsburgh. So we're going to share what you have learned. If you want to hear that conversation, though, you have to become a CityCast Pittsburgh neighbor. So do that now at membership.citycast.fm. All right, school closures. Mallory, tell us like the gist of what happened, and then James, we're turning to you.
Yeah, so quick and dirty version. The Pittsburgh Public Schools Board voted this week to close 9 school buildings over the next few years and make a bunch of other big changes. So most of the schools are going to close next summer, 2027. A couple more will close in 2029 because of building renovations. And then a ton of other schools are getting restructured. So there won't be any more K-8 schools in our system. We're moving to a more traditional elementary, middle, high school model. Feeder patterns are changing, which is basically the schools you get assigned to based on where you live. And also the district's getting rid of elementary school magnet programs, except for the Montessori program. So we're going to be going back to a neighborhood school model. So things are going to change for a lot of students and families across the city.
Yeah, what's enrollment now? Like still 18,000-ish? Is that right?
Ish. Yep, we're a little bit below. A little bit below that K-12, a little 19,000 and change if you include our pre-K classes.
I always include the littles. I mean, what is the best case scenario here, James? Like once this starts taking effect next year, what are we hoping for?
Yeah, I mean, I think the key pieces that Mallory just talked about, right? Like, I think people forget that magnet schools were a compromise to not desegregate schools. So they said, look, we can't bus. We're not going to bus. We're not going to have what Boston did. So if you go back and read the Columbus School Report from 1968, right, there's a lot that people were fighting about, having to integrate neighborhoods. Our neighborhoods are still not integrated, right? So we have put on schools this idea that they're going to be the ones to lead on desegregation when our housing doesn't desegregate, when we still have red lines in our neighborhoods, whether they be real or fake. I mean, we still have Wells Fargo out here not giving loans to Black folk with the same credit scores as white folk, right? So there's continued problems in sort of where people live and how they live. So what this plan acknowledges is, hey, we can create more socioeconomically diverse schools in some places, right? So there's going to be, if you look at Squirrel Hill, the plan's actually going to create, 3 elementary schools that are much more socioeconomically diverse than they are now by kind of breaking up Colfax residents to go to Liberty, to go to Minadeo, to go to Greenfield. All of which are strong schools, by the way. Minadeo has a really great leader. Greenfield has been knocking out of the park in literacy and reading, and Liberty's been a strong magnet for years, right? So we've got these great options, and then everyone will go to the Colfax Middle, and then you'll have a pattern where some will go to Westinghouse and some will go to Alderdice, right? I think what we'll see is we need to start embracing the fact that, like, what we wanted from Brown versus Board of Education has not come to fruition. And in point of fact, if you look at the undergirding law, we're not desegregating. See, desegregation is really in law not even available as a method to solve educational inequity. So I think what this administration has said is like, look, what if we had more investment in our neighborhood elementary schools so that we could have a strong foundation for every kid? That means they all have a play lab, which is a free unstructured play in the morning where they do some writing.
They call it a lab now? It was just recess when we were kids.
Well, so there's recess, but then there's also this other unstructured time that they're working with teachers to try and get kids talking and using some of the literacy tools within it through the unstructured time. So there's some science behind it. The folks at Hatch Play have created this like little lab kit, and it's really awesome.
I love it. I will look into this. I'm just teasing.
So there's like these opportunities, right? And then 4th and 5th grade, world languages, some STEAM opportunities. So it's thoughtful in how we get there. And so I think for me, it's like, the loss is real. And I think families are right to be like, are you going to be able to replicate what I have that I love in my school in another place? And I think to us, like, that's the work. How do you like not only replicate, but make better the new opportunities in your neighborhood schools? But I'm excited, right? We've been doing these meetings in the North Side. All these folks, whether they're for the plan or against the plan, are super excited about thinking about how do we make this new middle school that's bringing kids from all over the North Side to one middle school in our North Side successful. And they have all kinds of really good ideas that school board members are sitting in those audiences listening to, right? So to me, this is like, you couldn't get started on thinking big until you got past this part of the plan. And now it's how do we as a community start to invest in success in this transition period? And it's not going to be easy. We got 15 months, which is going to go like that to get this done. So I think we're trying to figure out what's the role community organizations like ours can play in supporting success, because ultimately, like, this is a huge opportunity that we've got to seize on if we want to create the best school system in the urban school system in the country.
Yeah, James, it's interesting because I feel like so much of this discussion has been about these closures being prompted by declining enrollment in the district, the fact that it is the capacity to serve like double the number of students who are currently there. But you're saying this is also about creating more economic and racial diversity in schools and like creating more equity.
That's a big part of it. I mean, it's part of why we're, to the extent I'm supportive, right? I mean, I think, I would have, if it were me, I would have said to Montessori families, hey, we're going to locate you somewhere. And now these are going to be the neighborhoods and they're going to be socioeconomically diverse. And that's what's going to feed in there. And no longer will you have a magnet there either, right? Like that would have just made some sense to me. That's not what the board chose to do. But I do think there's an opportunity to really think about how do we drive neighborhood investment in schools in ways that then you can start to bridge the gap between civic infrastructure and school infrastructure. They don't talk. So you have all these development CDCs, development groups. They come in at the last minute and say, hey, don't close my school. But like really, there's not an ongoing conversation. So how do we set the table so that people can say, here's what our development growth and thoughts are for families and kids in this neighborhood. So that means what's the parks infrastructure? What's the transportation infrastructure? What are we doing in terms of family housing? And the school can be the jewel that then drives the investment, right? That's what suburban communities do. They build these beautiful schools. I don't know if you've seen them. I don't know if you saw the Oakmont drawings for their, the new Riverview High School that just came out this week. Like, yeah, they're going to be investing millions of dollars in improvements, right? So to me, the opportunity is how do we invest in the capital improvements that get people excited about going to school, and then the programming, deliver on the programming promises. Because this is the problem. PPS has had programming promise after programming promise every time they've closed schools, and they have not followed through and fulfilled them. That's something that has to change. And so I think that's the piece that I think families are rightfully skeptical, because they're like, can you deliver on this promised vision? And they spent less time talking about the vision than they did about the sort of details of which building moves where the line's going to be drawn. Again, real concerns, but I would have hoped that we could have spent more time talking about what's the vision for the future of this school system and how do we make it the best urban system in the country, considering all of the positive attributes that we have going for us that almost no other urban district in the country has.
So one question that I kind of come away from this with is that it felt like the last attempt at this, there were a lot of complaints about the timeline feeling rushed. And yet also like what I'm hearing from you is that there are going to be these capital supports that are kind of a key ingredient here, even as the city is still wrestling with things like a really complicated zoning code, a tight budget, lack of state funding for transit. I'm curious maybe like what's different this time around in this plan, and maybe where you see some opportunities to build some confidence that this is going to work this time.
Yeah, I mean, I think one, we have almost 6 more months, or at least this district has about 6 more months of time to do more work with families around transition than they would have had they done the vote in November, right? So November, you would have like basically done the vote in November. You would have had to be ready by August. And, even with that, you're probably not doing, it's like December, you really start in January, right? This time we're voting in May. The changes happen in August of 27, right? So there's more time, which is helpful. I think the second thing is there were some real questions around key pieces of the plan that were asked that they got some concrete answers to, especially around operations support. I think what, Dr. Walters and the team looked at and says, look, we have to get some systems pieces in place. And so while we're doing the hard work of this transition, what we'll also want to do is get some, support for doing some of this operational pieces. They also made, here are the hires. There's, a deputy superintendent that's going to kind of oversee this and have a team to be able to do a cross-functional team. They were able to answer some more questions about the details of that, not to the satisfaction of some, right? And I hear that and I get that.
To the satisfaction of you, question mark?
I mean, to the satisfaction of the board who voted on it. I'll put it that way. Like, I think there's clearly, there's a certain amount of like how much how much am I in the room? I'm outside. I have kids in this district. I want them to be successful. My job right now, as I see it, is to say, what are the conditions under which you can be successful, and how do we as a community provide you those? We did a lot of yelling at this district about their poor outcomes for years. Megan, you used to call me a watchdog. What did that do? We barked a lot. I did not see significant change, right, as a watchdog.
Yeah, and a few years ago, James told me to stop calling him a watchdog and call him an advocate. And I it is like, I mean, it's semantics, but it is a mental shift. It is, we are not just
for us, right? We're here about building supports now. And that means that sometimes you have difficult conversations and the partnership doesn't feel good and it's hard. But we have this mantra internally. It's like, just keep going. Be committed to doing the boring stuff well and consistently, and continue to show up for kids and families, because at the end of the day, that's who we're trying to serve collectively, right? And so teachers aren't going into this job being like, oh, I don't want to teach well. If you're not in situations or conditions where you can be successful, you're not going to be. So we think about this as systems, not people. And we're trying to figure out where are the places where we as an outside group can interject. So to the point of the details of the plan, like this district put out 300 pages of information around this plan. Philly put out 10, right? Like closed more schools, right? So I feel like there's also just this like standard, like what is the standard of information that we need to be able to make a decision? To me, this is why talking about the vision is so much more important, right? Like where do we want to be at the end of this? And I think people have lost that and are just thinking about loss rather than what is the opportunity here to get actually really high quality schools for our kids. And there is a huge one if we choose to take it.
As you look at this whole process, like what has transpired up to this point, how do you think, like prospective parents, for example, like might feel about being in the district or moving into the district? Because like that's part of this, right? Like we're constantly talking about population growth and is that achievable? And the school district is a huge question mark with that. Like if you look at this process or you've lived through it, how can this possibly build confidence in the district? Like, how can this make a parent be like, oh, yeah, I absolutely want to invest my child's future into this space the way it's being run and talked about right now?
Yeah, you have to build confidence by actually doing the work. And I just think that's the
But like, what's your pitch to a parent right now? Like who may be hearing this or like lives in the city and is about to have kids? Like it's such a, like, it's so pivotal if our city's going to grow.
I mean, James, my kids, I'm planning to send my kid to PPS in a couple of years. So make the pitch to me. Like, why should I stick with that plan?
Regardless, so it's, where you live in the city shouldn't determine the quality of the education that you receive. And right now,
full stop.
And whether or not which, like, you have found the right pathway because you are, a super information person and can then call the magnet office and guide yourself through a Byzantine process. We shouldn't have a Byzantine process for you to enter a school, and we shouldn't have way different opportunities or outcomes for kids based on the neighborhoods they're in or if they chose a magnet school. And right now that's what's happening. What this plan will do is make sure that wherever you live in the city, you're going to have a great neighborhood school right down the street or in a neighborhood nearby. And that has to be our North Star. So that for you, Mallory, you feel confident whether you live in Brookline or whether you live in Brighton Heights, that the neighborhood school you're going to send your child to is well-staffed, is safe, and has opportunities that you would be jealous of your child having because you didn't have them as a child. And that's what we have to be about, is building that kind of school for every family in the city of Pittsburgh. And for folks that moved out, come on back because there are great schools here.
You were critical of this plan to start. Do you think that this plan can do that it will achieve those goals?
It will only achieve that if we work together to make that happen. And that's the part that's different for me, right? Like the district has a role to play, but this time our civic community has to be involved, right? The conference got involved years ago, tried to do something with education, got frustrated, walked away. Like we can't get frustrated and walk away. We just have to stand side by side with our partners in the school system and continue, whether it's frustrating or not, to say the better that we need can be here. We spend $33,000 per pupil. Median salary is about $100,000 per teacher, and we have a student-teacher ratio of 11-1. Those facts aren't changing. Those facts on paper mean that this district should be knocking it out of the park by kids. And so we have to figure that out we have to figure out how do we turn those facts into a reality where kids have better. So that's what I'm going to be about for the next 3 to 5 years, if not longer, and hope that more people will join us in that journey.
It better be longer, James. Gauntlet thrown. All of y'all who are in my DMs, who have emailed us, who have said this out in the wild that someone needs to do something for Pittsburgh Public Schools. Here's your boy. Call James. Get involved. I don't want to hear it.
Please do.
James, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you guys. Take care.
CityCast Pittsburgh is brought to you today by Window Nation. We have had our first hot days here in Pittsburgh. If you are still sweating thinking about it and the AC is already blasting, then it might be time to replace your windows. If you're looking for energy-efficient windows that'll help you save on your utility bill for months to come, Window Nation is here to help. They've got a special running right now. Buy 4 windows, get 4 free, which means you could replace all the windows in your house and get half of them for free right now. Plus, you could also lock in their 0 down payment, no payments or interest for 2 years, and Window Nation custom builds their products. So you'll get to pick from all kinds of different things, 1,500 styles and colors, and the installation crew is full of professionals. They are going to finish the job, they say, in just 1 day or less. And best of all, your windows do come with a lifetime warranty. If you're looking to make an investment in your home, do check them out. That buy 4 windows, get 4 free sale ends soon. And don't wait to put an end to your window problems. You could schedule a fast, free consultation now at windownation.com. Okay, just as chickens now, Colin, Mallory, and we're going to talk about some updates to things that we've been harping on for a minute. So we'll start with the county. Is this drama? Do we count it as drama, Colin, in county council?
Like the good kind of drama, in a way. It's
a continued development.
Yes, it's a resolution to an ongoing story or part of an ongoing story. The short version is we have a new county council president. That president is Michelle Nakaradi-Chapkus, who is a big shift from Pat Catena, the outgoing president. If you'll recall from past episodes, Catena got caught up in some controversy during his PA State House primary race, where he had mailed out a fairly transphobic flyer to Democratic voters in his district. And he lost that primary and has now been replaced as county council president. And this was not a close vote either. He was unanimously replaced by county council with Nakaradi-Chapkus, who is a longtime environmental advocate.
And that happened because he stepped aside?
Yes. So he stepped down last week.
Voluntarily.
Voluntarily-ish.
Yeah.
The majority of council members had said they were going to vote to replace him. So it seemed like the writing was on the wall. Yes.
We all know that. What
Exactly.
that feels like. Yeah.
So he stepped down, and then at the council meeting this week, they just went ahead and voted for his replacement. He voted for her as well. As you said, Colin, it was unanimous. So everyone decided this was the move.
I think this is a really interesting transition as well, because it really mirrors in a way the changing of the guard within the Democratic Party at the county level. Catena was a very kind of middle of the road Democrat, seen as sort of a moderate and a steady hand at the tiller by people in his district. Nakaradi-Chapkus has been the executive director now of Women for a Healthy Environment for some time, and she has a long career in environmental advocacy. So this is a real kind of shift more towards some progressive politics. It kind of tracks with the fact that the Republican at-large member of council was voted out last year. There has been some more progressive membership elected to council. But also, to be clear, Catena will remain serving in District 4. Following the loss of his primary, he's going to stay in that district in the West Hills. And if I didn't say it as well, Nakaradi-Chapkus represents some of the eastern suburbs. She's a Plum resident. So sort of a shift in terms of where in the county the presidency sits now.
Y'all, I was just Googling this organization, and it says the Google preview of the listing says, chat with Rachel, our AI agent named after Rachel Carson.
Oh, my God. Is she spinning in her grave or what? I mean,
I feel like that. I mean, you got to do what you got to do, but I feel like that sort of misses the mark of what the whole Silent Spring is actually about.
Yeah, I would think that she would have some strong feelings about data centers and all of this. So interesting that that's the choice being made.
Yeah.
At the risk of burying the lead in all of this, Nakarati Chapkus is actually the first woman president of Allegheny County Council. Just as a quick kind of history refresher, this county council structure isn't super old. It actually dates back to 2000. Prior to that, there were 3 elected commissioners, and they were replaced by this 15-member council, and the executive is now held by Sarah Innamorato. But along with our first female executive, we now have our first female president of Allegheny County Council. So that also represents a real advancement in diversity here in the county as well.
And just a reminder about, District 45, House District 45. So that race is going to continue into November. Katena was running for the Democratic primary, was not successful. So that's one that voters in that district will see on their ballot come election day. We'll skip now to the city. There was a story in the Post-Gazette by City Hall reporter Hallie Lauer that I thought was like one of the most like straightforward and blunt things I have read in Pittsburgh media this week, that Pittsburgh continues to be more broke than we thought it was. God, what a journey we've been on with Pittsburgh finances this year. Well, in the past 12 months, I guess I should say.
Yeah, this figure was kind of eye-popping. We're still about $6.5 million
Nope,
in the red.
The old figure. That's the old figure, Colin. Okay, let me take you on a journey. So, I mean, as folks who listen to this show may know, we talked to the city controller a couple of weeks ago about Mayor Corey O'Connor reopening former Mayor Gainey's final budget. So when he was finishing his term, to get a better sense of what was what. That process isn't totally uncommon, but it hasn't happened here in Pittsburgh in a while. And the city says that they found exactly what people were accusing Gainey and his deputy, Jake Pollack, of last year, kind of goosing the numbers a little bit, like moving or delaying some 2025 bills that absolutely they say should have been paid, but weren't. They were deferred to 2026. So it looked like we had more money in the bank than we did. And then also just under budgeting for expenses. This is one that everyone was talking about like last October, November, December, for things that they knew would cost more than the line item that they put in the budget. So like Gainey's administration was saying everything's in the black, like this is a fair budget, but everyone's like, but you know that these things cost more than this. You're just putting that on paper anyway. Skip forward to 2026. The city said when they reopened the budget that we were going to be that $6.5 million over, so like in the red. And that was even with the tax increase that got passed back in December. And we do have that money in the savings. You just don't want to like pay for your living expenses through your savings account, right? But now, this week, we got the Q1 financial report. So January, February, March. And y'all, it is so much worse than $6.5 million. Now expected to be $24.4 million in the red.
Oof.
So 4 times as bad as they thought. And same reasoning again, deferred bills. Also just because everything is so expensive right now. So like a few weeks ago, Corey O'Connor's, the administration moved, I think, an additional $550,000 just to pay for gas for all of our city vehicles. And they're like, oh, that's not going to even come close now that gas is over $5 a gallon.
This comes back to the ongoing city fleet issues that we were hearing so much about at the beginning of the year, where these old, relatively inefficient vehicles are burning through a lot more gas than some of the newer ones might be. And even with the city having some EVs in its fleet, there are a lot of like really old F-150s that are probably getting like 10 miles to the gallon. And that gallon is going to cost you at least $5 right now in the current climate in Pennsylvania. So I'm not surprised that the budget is worse than it is, just given the circumstances. Also, just with the snowstorms that we had, there was so much more need for plows this year. So some of this is definitely bad luck. The fact that the Gainey administration didn't account for extra overtime during the NFL draft after lobbying so hard for said draft, though, is one detail of this that makes me raise an eyebrow rather high.
Yep. And that's another one. So like, that's like, I think, bad budgeting. Like you can't just like ignore that the thing is going to happen. And then the public works stuff that you talked about, Colin, like in January and February. And then also we've talked about this a ton, like the city's just collecting less in tax revenue. And that continues to be a problem. Like until there is a massive property reassessment in Allegheny County, I don't think this gets better. Like James talked about that too. Like it also affects our school district. This is a problem across the board. And city and county leaders are like, the state needs to fix this because it's a state of Pennsylvania problem.
Though I know County Council is actually considering a bill that would mandate regular property reassessments. And the new president of County Council, who we just talked about, said like this set of public hearings that's happening on that is going to go forward as planned. So they're actually taking public feedback on that right now.
Yeah. And just to kind of go back to that $24.4 million that we're now predicted to be in the red by the end of the year, we, once again, do have the savings to cover all of that. But our savings account, like once we pay that, like pull from our savings, it's going to be well below our comfortable threshold. Like that's how I keep seeing people refer to this, which by the way, I feel like all of us have like a number that we need to see in our checking account to feel like stable, comfortable adults. And that number is different for everybody. But would you like to hazard a guess as to what the city's number is for that?
Oh boy. I was going to say, I mean, my first guess was like $1 billion, but I think that's ridiculously unrealistic.
The city of Pittsburgh does not have $1 billion laying around. It's lower. It is a nice round number. It's not 50 million. Mallory, do you want to guess?
All right, I'm going to go 100 million.
It's 100 million. Apparently that is our comfortable level. I wish my personal threshold. I realize I'm not a municipality, but I wish that was my comfortable checking account total. That'd be great.
I remember the days when I was like, I've got 150 in here. I'm doing all right.
$150 to be clear.
Yes. Not 150,000.
Or $1.50.
So the city of Pittsburgh knows exactly how you feel in those moments, Mallory.
Anyway, now it is up to the city. Now that they know this number, they have a better estimate as to where they're going to land the plane come the end of December. They have to figure out more ways to make money, which I think is an interesting challenge for city council, right? And possibly the mayor's office. Like one thing that was thrown out is more one-time payments from the city's big nonprofits. Is there anything like, can they chip away at an additional 5 million here, 10 million there, 15 million there? That would obviously take care of some of this. And then there was a proposal, again, in the PG story, they mentioned it, that Councilman Anthony Coghill has introduced legislation this week that would tax businesses on quote unquote recreational items, such as pool tables, jukeboxes, and skill games. I
support making gambling more difficult and imposing some more regulations on this industry that's clearly costing people a lot of money, by the way, that they could be paying into the tax system. I just feel like that's going to be a drop in the bucket. I mean, it seems like if you're going to go for taxing something, are skill games really it? Like, are the people sitting in the Sunoco playing slots like really going to make up for that shortfall? I'm skeptical.
I've also never heard of taxing a pool table. Like, I'm sure anything can happen, but I've only played pool tables where it's quarters in the thing and you press the, how do you tax a pool table?
Right, because didn't you say jukebox as well? Which...
The electronic jukeboxes, you can build in a fee schedule. So that one I get. But
so every time you use touch tunes, you're giving the city 5 cents? I just don't feel like that's going to make up for a $24 million shortfall.
The skill games question, that's one I wonder if this is where it came from. That's one that's been discussed at the state level for years on years at this point. There have been efforts to tax that too, but so far nothing is stuck.
It's going to just be interesting to see how we get ourselves out of this hole. I mean, at some point, is one of these politicians going to float a billionaire tax or something along those lines? Because we need something.
Can you do that at the local level? Genuinely, I don't know.
I mean, if we can levy taxes in different ways, I don't see why we couldn't raise taxes on a certain income bracket. That's what other cities like New York are trying to do. But I don't know. I mean, I'm going to refer back to James at this point and say that this revenue needs to come from somewhere so that we can provide these services. And if reassessment ain't it, I don't know what is.
Well, maybe it's pool tables, apparently. Neighbor shout out time. We've got one from a CityCast Pittsburgh neighbor. Meg M is shouting out the Center for Life in Hazelwood.
Yes, Meg says that they've got free after school and summer programs for kids. They have an Aspiring Teen Leaders Academy, this program where teens can work on independent projects and participate in workforce development while getting paid, which is critical, $9 an hour. And there's tons of resources for adults too, events, a summer basketball league, all kinds of great stuff. Meg's also really excited about Center of Life's hub that's coming to Hazelwood Green. This is a project that I guess has been in the works for a couple of years. Unclear exactly when it's going to open, but just seems like overall this is a great space with a lot going on.
Meg, thank you for your shout out. If you want to share your favorite local business, something that's going on, an event you really dig, a sandwich you love, you can do that by becoming a CityCast Pittsburgh neighbor. Send us your shout outs anytime you want, as many as you want. We will read them here. They will be in our newsletter. You can do that by joining today at membership.citycast.fm. It's also how you get that bonus segment that's coming later. And gosh, boner pills. What a thing today. You got to hang out for that one. Welcome to our newest neighbors, Gabrielle G., Savannah S., and Jenna P. Thank you for being here. We're going to talk about now our win, our loss, our thing to know this week. Rail safety. Colin, take me to school.
So this is something that is an issue that I've been really kind of obsessed with for the last year or so, especially after just noticing what sorry shape a lot of our rail infrastructure is in. I mean, I'm going to say this again since this is like my Roman Empire at this point, but the Fort Wayne Bridge that crosses over the Allegheny River in downtown, take a look at that thing sometime and consider the fact that there are trains passing over it every day. It's the one that's right next to the convention center. So you'll see Norfolk Southern trains going over there at regular intervals really every day of the year. And it is in a sorry state.
Colin, that's definitely one of those bridges that I have seen every day of my life and never knew its name.
Well, next time you look at it, I hope you're filled with a little twinge of fear, because that's how I feel every time I pass under that thing. But U.S. Representative Chris DeLuzio, who represents PA 17 in Western Allegheny County, Northern Allegheny County, and Beaver County, has been advocating for rail safety for a while now, especially following the East Palestine disaster in Ohio, which saw a train derail and spill polyvinyl chloride all over the place and poison the local water supply. DeLuzio has been really beating this drum for stricter control of the railroads. And historically also, this is important to note, railroads have gotten to set a lot of their own terms and regulate a lot of their own infrastructure. So this is an oversight measure that some would argue is long overdue. It has now passed out of the U.S. House Transportation Committee with bipartisan support. It was a 54-11 vote. And this bill would essentially require tougher safety standards, closer inspections of train cars like the ones that crashed in East Palestine, installation of what are called hot box sensors, which can monitor the heat of wheels and brakes on traveling trains. And Trump actually supports this bill. U.S. President Donald Trump has advocated for it. DeLuzio says that's been helpful in this case. But DeLuzio has really just hammered this home that this is crucial as these trains get longer and longer and move faster and faster. So this bill is now heading to the full House for a vote. And I will personally be really curious to see what results from this, if it gets watered down as this amendment kind of is considered by the full House of Representatives.
So that was our thing to know. Moving on to a lot of losses. Our local beverage industry is taking body blows right now. I don't even know what to make of this.
This was a bitter week for anybody who enjoys some of the city's best drinking establishments. We've already covered the fact that Penn Brewing is in Chapter 11 protection. They are seemingly still open, which is good news for enjoyers of their wonderful beer, but they're serving drinks only at this stage. The Abbey, which is a very popular Lawrenceville establishment, is also now in Chapter 11. Goodlander Cocktail Brewery has announced that their last day is coming up here in their tap room in Larimer.
Although they did have a kind of an aside that good news is coming, but it's on top of this bad thing.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see what their good news is too, because they're also right across the street from Jackworth Ginger Beer. And I had some hopes that maybe there would be some sort of entertainment district kind of growing in that area.
It'd be nice.
But adding to that, the fact that we lost Fatheads, Sly Fox has left the High Line. This just all kind of left me with a question. City Paper staff has actually discussed this on a number of occasions. Is expanding your business too quickly just like the classic Pittsburgh mistake? Is this a nationwide trend, or is this something that's just unique to our breweries? It makes me wonder, as some of these other craft beer places have really grown their footprint in the region.
Well, and this is not a local brewery, but we also did get news that McCormick and Schmick's just closed downtown, which I saw a lot of chatter on that about. There's been this real big push to return to office. PNC just made everybody come back downtown. And then you have one of these sort of institutions where people would go for fancy downtown meals shutting down at the same time. So pour one out for them too.
A win. We've got a win. Mr. Rogers is going to be gracing our snail mail soon.
Yes. So to celebrate the 250th anniversary of both the post office and the U.S., the post office ran this stamp contest to bring back one of their old designs. There were 25 different stamps that the public could vote on. And the one that won is the Mr. Rogers stamp that came out originally in 2018. So some real Pittsburgh pride here. People across the nation recognize that he's the person we need in this time to make a return. The stamp design is this picture of Mr. Rogers in a red cardigan holding the King Friday puppet. And I guess when this first got released, it sold out really, really fast. Back in 2018, the post office printed 12 million Mr. Rogers stamps, and they sold out within just a few weeks. So if back in the day you were trying to get your hands on one and couldn't, you have another chance now. The stamp is going to be available at post offices and online starting next Monday. And there will also be a sheet of 4 new souvenir stamps with Mr. Rogers and characters, or with the set from the neighborhood of make-believe. So yeah, if you've been thinking you want to get back into the art of sending a letter to a friend, now is the time. Get your Mr. Rogers stamp and send him something nice.
One more win. It is almost Pride season.
Hooray! We can't wait. There are lots of parties kicking off this weekend in honor of our city's and our region's LGBTQ community. And the city actually just got a new neighborhood pride organization. So there are a lot of individual neighborhood celebrations throughout Pittsburgh, as befits our city, which is very neighborhood centric. But Brookline now has its own pride organization. They're planning some introductory events. They've got a comedy show in the works and maybe a craft event coming up. And they're also going to be launching more formally in September after Pride with a proper kind of grand opening. Their hope is to stage year-round events and educational events as well. And I thought this was really touching. Organizer Alicia Romano said, "I really love to see these neighborhood pride celebrations also pop up all over the city, but there's so much general pride that goes into each individual neighborhood. I love Brookline," she says. So good to see that acceptance and love spreading throughout Pittsburgh. I will also take this opportunity to shamelessly plug City Paper's Pride Guide. We've got a full month of Pride events in our print copy, which you can now pick up at your local Giant Eagle or in a City Paper box near you.
This is the first print copy since y'all have come back, right?
The first print copy since last December. So we've got it packed full of Pride events. It's a little thicker than usual, which we love to see. And also there's a story that you'll see in our bonus segment if you are a CityCast neighbor.
Yes, this is it for our regular show. CityCast Pittsburgh neighbors get to stick around to hear us discuss Colin's latest profile for City Paper. I'll read the headline, "Meet the Local Taking Gas Station Boner Pills So You Don't Have To." If that title doesn't intrigue you, I don't know what will. If you want to hear that discussion and all of our other Friday bonus segments, then become a neighbor now at membership.citycast.fm. That is all for today here on CityCast Pittsburgh. Once again, you can support us by becoming a CityCast Pittsburgh neighbor. Learn more at membership.citycast.fm. Our music is by Los Mocochetes, Aaron Taylor Waldman, All the Kimonos, Suncatcher, House of Say, and Arc du Soleil, with additional mixing by Tyler Lindgren. Mallory Falk is our executive producer. Sophia Lowe produces the show. Francesca DeBecco and Laura Satsui wrote our newsletter this week. And I'm your host, Megan Harris. We'll be back on Monday with more from around the city. Have a great weekend, y'all. Mallory just sent me the Mr. Rogers stamp. It is cute. It's cute, but it is also odd because they've got like the cutout around his head in a way that like sort of looks a little disembodied.
If they just kept these on hand in Pittsburgh year round, I'm sure they would sell tons of them.